of week coming up. It is US Open week, third major of the season at Oakmont, one of the courses in the world. So lots to get through today. We're going to have a look at the narratives, dark horses. I'm going to try and pick some winners, have a look at some of the narratives coming into this week at Oakmont, and sort of everything. What I'll look at that now in a second to start things off this week. 2016, Dustin Johnson won there. Knight had a hard 6 over final round. Yeah, DJ won on 4 under. So it's back there for it's a record actually at Oakmont. It's the 10th time the US Open has been at Oakmont. And listen, I love these type of events because we have so many, fans want to tune in and see guys shoot 8 over par. They want to see them hack it out of the rough. If you're just tuning in every week, which we do get far too often, in my opinion, on the PGA Tour, when the winning score is like 25 to 35 under par, it does get a little bit boring. You want to see them tested at the toughest courses in the world. And I'm very much in the line this week that this course is, you're going to see a lot of the similar guys who would be competing at the likes of the Memorial Tournament at Muirfield Village and the likes of the API at Bay Hill. They're the guys that are in the mix this week for me. So I'm really looking forward to the test that Oakmont is going to throw. I think everyone's seen on social media this week how ridiculously tough and long the rough has been. You just pop a ball and it's gone. On the greens as well. Some of they're quite big, the greens here. But you see, you drop the ball on the green and it rolls at 20, 30 yards. Just absolutely insane stuff. So yeah, the forecast. Any comments you want to make? Who's going to win? Predictions? What's the winning score going to be at the weekend? Drop them in the comments down there below. So lots to get through. Hit me up on Twitter, Niall McGrath 4, Instagram the same. You see my Instagram there. So loads to talk about. So first of all, let's get into it. Let's talk about the setup of the course this week. And it is really interesting because if your head's been buried in the sand all weekend, you'll have some realization of what we're going to be expecting here. The average width of the fairways is 35 yards, which is absolutely tiny. So you have to be accurate off the tee. We've seen you can't go into the rough here, or you're going to be chopping it out, getting the ball back in play. You're not going to be hitting the rough here and getting the green because it's just going to roll bloody straight off, go 20, 30 yards, you end up shanking it. So there's a certain amount of players, I believe, this week that have the potential of winning this. And the list isn't too far-fetched from what we've seen over the last number of months on the PGA Tour in terms of the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Memorial Tournament. In my opinion, you're going to see guys around there going to get the job done here at Oakmont. Let's look at some more course stats. There's 175 bunkers around here, which is absolutely insane. And check out the press conference. This guy talked about it. We've heard DJ saying it's the toughest course he's ever played. Obviously, when he won there in 2016, it's going to be even harder than there. That's what he believes. And I think everything that we've seen this week, that's 100% going to be the way. You've talked about Scottie saying it's the hardest setup of a course we'll probably ever play. It does compare like the likes of Winged Foot, stuff like that. But I actually don't think we've ever seen a course set up this hard. Luckily, if we can just pull this up here now, hang on. The weather might give some of the players some grace in terms of how it's going to score, because the weather forecast on Thursday is going to kick off mostly sunny, 64 and 87 degrees, whatever that is. That's pretty warm. Potential for showers and scattered thunderstorms. Saturday high, low, 41. It could rain on Saturday and Sunday. There's potential to rain. And the software plays, obviously that's going to be easier scoring, but easier scoring around here I don't think really is a thing. I listened to DP World Tour. They did a little montage with some of the players speaking about how they think amateurs would get on this course, and some of them reckon they wouldn't even finish. 18 handicapper might shoot 150. It's unbelievably tough. So yeah, let's really just get straight into it. It's going to play tough. The greens are fast. Think about that. Between 20 yards and 35 yards. That's the sort of fairways you're hitting here. You have to be spot on off the tee in this place, or you're not going to win. And you have to be long enough as well. So I'm just fascinated to see what goes down here this week. brilliant tournament to get going. Some of the tee times as well are out. They were released yesterday. And to be fair, we do actually have some really good groups. Obviously, the standout group, I think, announced, that's one of them right there. Jordan Spieth, Jon Rahm, Justin Johnson, really good pairing there. But the one to look out for is obviously Shane Lowry, Justin Rose, Rory McIlroy. Really good grouping there. Some other ones I do like, Tyrrell Hatton, Sung Jae, Sepp Straka. Could potentially have a winner out of there. Like really solid golfers. I don't want to be screaming on Sunday going like, fucking boo. If we've made a chance to work, keep every stone unturned here. Get in the comments, anything down below in the section if you want me to talk about anything. Whatever else for next week's show. But this is going to be fascinating. So yeah, some of the storylines coming in, listening to Rory McIlroy, I thought was quite interesting during the week there, speaking about everything in between his driver, his performance at the RBC Canadian Open, which is absolutely horrific. Terrible performance from Rory McIlroy. There didn't perform well whatsoever. I think it was one of his worst ever rounds, if not his worst ever round on the PGA Tour. Missed a cut by a country mile, had a quadruple bogey, driver issues all over the place. He's changed his driver up this week. But, when I look at Rory McIlroy and you look at how he performs, he has to be confident going into events. And there doesn't seem to be much confidence here at all heading in. He also questions his motivation. He also said he loves himself, Sanders. But anyway, he questions his motivation. He's found it hard to get motivated for these big events. And, I'm going to oppose Rory McIlroy this week. I think Rory could even miss the cut. To be fair, I don't like, he's sort of snarky again with the media. That's a pretty standard thing with Rory. But I just don't think there's any confidence coming in this week. And I think it obviously would be quite difficult. You're waiting so long to win the Masters and get that monkey off your back, and he's done it. And obviously the PGA was pretty poor. Obviously the driver issues there, the non-conforming driver controversy. So he said this week, since having such a shocking weekend at the RBC, Thursday and Friday at the RBC Canadian Open, that he's found a new driver. So that's going to be really interesting. The video's up there on our YouTube channel as well if you want to check that out. I just don't like anything. I think if you can't drive around this place, if you're going to push it left, you're going to push it right, which he was doing all over the place. Putting didn't look good. Wedge play, I think, has been a bit of an issue this season. He hasn't been accurate enough at the wedge. So yeah, I'm really not liking what I see out of Rory McIlroy this week going into Oakmont. Missed the cut there in 2016 as well. So yeah, it's one of those weeks where, I think Rory just could really miss the cut this weekend. And a lot of people aren't saying that. A lot of people are saying, oh, he'll make the cut. I'm not so sure here. And plus factor in what he said in his press conference yesterday, that he did 81 here last week on this course, and he felt as though he played relatively well. That just shows you how tough this course is. So, yeah, I'm not liking Rory this week at all. If you're going to have a play, definitely not for me. I'll be having a play on potential missing cut here at Oakmont. Unbelievable track. I'd urge you, if you've your heads, in the clouds, to go and have a look at, there's so many clips, YouTube shorts, everything around, showing the difficulty of this course, how long the rough is, how thick the rough is, the speed of the slopes and some of the fairways, the greens, how, they're going to be 14 plus on the Stimpy, which is absolutely insane. It's just like rolling a ball on glass. Sorry, I can't curse. I get fucking demonetized there. But you know what I mean. It's unbelievable. So yeah, let's really take some other of the week's talking points, which I found very, very interesting. Now, there's a picture of me with the US Open on my Instagram. Look, there you go. From 2010 when GMAC won it. There we go. Hit me up there, Twitter, anywhere else, Niall McGrath 4. But yeah, okay, I want to talk about Jon Rahm as well. Really, really interesting press conference yesterday. And, I find it interesting with Jon. He's always so intelligent when you listen to him speak at press conferences. And he spoke about, obviously, his move to LIV, and I think he's had recorded his 20th top 10 finish in LIV at the weekend in Virginia, which is incredible. But he admitted, smaller fields every week he wouldn't be finishing top 10 on the PGA Tour if he was in the PGA Tour. He was asked about his mentality, his focus, but he's been playing some really good golf. I've kept my eye on LIV. GMAC, to be fair, did very well last week, finished second behind Jaco Neumann. But Rahm and Bryson, without doubt, are the two guys in LIV that are going to be the biggest threats from that league this week. Bryson, a perennial contender at majors. Interesting. But I think with Jon, there's almost like a chip on his shoulder, like he's something to prove here. And he did. He seemed very focused, cool, calm, calculated, always speaks so well, as I said. But I love the honesty where he goes, I wouldn't have finished top 10 in the field if this was on the PGA Tour, effectively what he said. But I love the confidence where he's saying, I'm playing really well, really solid. And if he can get it off the tee going well, Jon Rahm is a threat this weekend, especially on tougher courses, as we were saying about, the API, Torrey Pines, places like that, where they're the notorious more difficult courses on tour. Rahm is going to be a guy who can handle that. Love the form and LIV. But, let's look at Bryson now. Bryson, really interesting stuff again in the press conference. New clubs again this week. He's changed them all up. He's with LA Golf. The mindset's just fascinating. So obsessed with the game. But I think it's going to go one way or the other here for Bryson. And this is why I'm not really all over picking Bryson this week. I think he could go out and win it. Don't get me wrong, but he could also slide the other way. He's so good off the tee, though. This is where you really have to be careful, Bryson. He's so good off the tee, but if one or two things start going wrong, he could go to pieces. It's one way or the other for Bryson here, especially on a track as difficult as this. Can he win it? Certainly he can win it. He probably is the best threat from LIV to win this tournament. I don't like Jaco Neumann. I think good 8th place. I think was the first ever top 10 in a major was this year at the PGA. I just think if he gets himself in a little bit of trouble here, which he does have a tendency to miss right, that I'm not so sure he'll be able to rescue himself with how difficult the conditions are going to play this week on the track at Oakmont. But yeah, Bryson, it's just fascinating. Again, go over, listen to that. Very confident about his ability, which is a great guy. I like Bryson. He's really done a 360 on the way I or 180 on the way I feel about him. Decent guy. Definitely a threat, but do I like him to win? I'm not so sure. I think it could be like McIlroy. One or two things don't go his way this week. He could fall back in the field. He could fall back very quickly here. So really, really interesting in terms of the LIV guys. Okay, if you get any value of this, do hit up and do subscribe, notifications, all that. You'll get them on the channel. So let's take a look. Let's get straight into it. Let's take a look at who the money shots are this week for the US Open at Oakmont. Someone who is really not being talked about enough, in my opinion. I've been spraying this around for a while. Is Xander Schauffele running firmly under the radar this week at Oakmont? A guy who's never finished outside the top 15 in I think it's 10 US Opens, which is a pretty incredible stat. I'll go back to that in a second. Listen, it's a lot like Scottie here for me when Scottie had the injury at the start of the season. He's sort of playing his way back in, getting better each week. The numbers are steadily improving each week for Xander Schauffele. And there is, if I can just pull this up now here, give me a sec. Sorry, I'm on my own, as you know. If we can sort of just pull this up here, Scottie. Look at this. This is Scottie, right? So this is Scottie's performances. So if you look down there towards when he was out with the hand injury, is the WM Phoenix? It was just before that. If you just look around this sort of area. So I'm getting the telestrator up here. That there's a very similar trend in terms of performances with Xander Schauffele. It's all sort of down this area till he came back in. A lot of people were questioning Scottie, which I thought was like batshit crazy. Oh, you know, there was a load of talk on social media. Oh, Scottie's never going to be as good again, and all this absolute tripe talk, which I couldn't understand at the time. That, you know, he's not going to perform. He's not going to be up there. All this absolute garbage talk. And look at Sanders. It's very, very similar. The big events when they come around, he obviously that rib injury, missed a lot of action with that rib injury. But since he's come back in, was it the Valspar he came back in? Yeah, the Valspar. Tied 12th, 8th, 18th, 11th, 28th, 25th. This is a guy who really doesn't care much about winning your standard. Well, he obviously cares, but his main focus is major tournaments. And if you look, this is on Data Golf, by the way, great website, check it out if you're into your stats, all that sort of stuff. Loads of information there. If you look at Xander, it's just progressively got better week on week out since the injury in terms of shots gained. There's a little bit of something everywhere. Off the tee, he's getting better. We've seen a few cold weeks with the putter, a few cold weeks with the driver, but it all seems to be coming together at the right time, in my opinion. Took last week off, working on the driver apparently all week with Chris Como. And I think that's, if he can get the driver as accurate it was last year when he won the two majors, there's no one talking about it. The pressure is not particularly on him this week. There's been very little talk about him winning. If you look around in a lot of circles, it's all about Scottie, and rightly so. Don't get me wrong, we'll talk about Scottie in a second, rightly so. But when you have a guy as good as Xander Schauffele and who's improving as much, we're not going to see a season here where you're coming off two major wins and you have an injury. It's very similar to what Scottie went through. So I think he's had that good finish at the PGA, and that sort of just tells you where he's at. It's just solely about majors for him. He's a couple of weeks off now coming into this, worked on what he needs to work on. Let's have a look. So pull up some of these stats here. I have them here. Sorry. So yeah, it's been a mixed bag in terms, but he's still gaining shots this season, plus 1.13 tee to green. Total 1.10 coming in this week. So like, it's not devastatingly bad stats. Like, that fucking good stats. Shit person, but there we go. So yeah, I'm really liking Xander, what I see this week. I love the mental approach, as I said. You know, you're looking at that 20-1. I am pretty hot on Xander this week. I think he's been gearing up to this all summer, and we've talked about his US Open record as well. It's fantastic, some of the best in the field. You just sort of have to, in my opinion, have a play in him. You know, we can go on about Scottie all we want, and like, I'm just not taking Scottie this week. And the reason why I'm not taking Scottie is because, again, too short for me. Just too short. Far too short. You know, look at some of the stats here for Scottie Scheffler. Number 1 in bogey avoidance. Number 1 on bounce back. Number 2 in scrambling. Won 3 of his last 4 events. Obviously, the guy is going to go in favour. And he could be 4 shots clear on Sunday and win this. But this is the beauty of this golf courses, that you could have a 4-shot lead going with 3 holes to play, and you could quadruple bogey twice coming in and lose the tournament. But Scottie, yeah, massive chances, and, you know, massively confident. I think he's underplaying, if you listen to his press conference, how relaxed he is and how good he is, and it's almost as if he's trying to poke out the bear there by saying this is the most difficult course we'll ever play, because he's just so goddamn good. But yeah, I'm just not having it I'm not having it this week. I think, you know, could easily go out there and win, but I don't like the price. I think we have to look elsewhere again, as we've been saying so often this season, because Scottie is that damn good. It's Tiger Woods level shit. There's no question about that. Okay, another one we're going to look at. Really good form lately. The only question mark here is with the putter for Shane Lowry. It's always been sort of his Achilles heel. But a guy who does love the tough tests and the tough courses, and I think 40-1 is definitely worth some value each way. If you look at what Shane has done this season, it's probably been his best ever season in terms of how he's done in the FedEx Cup, standing on the PGA Tour. He's up to a career high world ranking. It's come together for Shane Lowry this season. Only won, 2 missed cuts this season, I think. The Farmers Insurance was the first, and obviously missing the cut at the US PGA Championship. But if you look at the form in between that, it's been pretty sensational from Shane Lowry. He finished second here in 2016 also. Really good performance. Blew that lead overnight. And Dustin Johnson obviously went on to claim the title. I think he had a 4-shot lead in 2016 at this course. He did say in 2016 when he went out there that he actually walked in after 3 or 4 holes because it was so difficult even in 2016. I think he's going to play even harder. But he's a guy who does like the tougher golf courses. I remember when he won his WGC, I think it was back in, when was that? 2015, maybe even before that. He played in that course, I think 2 years before Bridgestone. And he shot like 25 over par and came back and won on that course like 3 or 4 years later. And that's a typical thing with Shane Lowry. For the API, before the last 2 seasons of the API at Bay Hill, he had a horrendous record around there. But for some reason, whatever happens with Shane Lowry, he can traditionally come back on courses he's played really bad on and come back and really sort of almost conquer them. It's mental. Memorial the same. Look at his stats this season. Tied 13th, tied 23rd, missed cut, tied 2nd at the Truist, as we saw. Tied 18th at the RBC. Masters, not a good finish. Tied 42nd. Valspar, tied 8th. Tied 20th, 7th. AT&T came runner-up to Rory McIlroy. Knows the course. Again, if we have a look at this, I'm comparing this, as I said, the Arnold Palmer Invitational earlier on this year. These courses are probably the most similar courses to what we're going to see this week, because this is on a different level. But these would be the nearest, in my opinion, would be Bay Hill. Shane finished 6th, 7th at Bay Hill again this year. Third the year before, the Scottie Scheffler. Let's take a look at, there's definitely something familiar happening here, I think, with these two. You see a lot of the names I'm going to pick this week. I only checked the finishes of the Memorial and Arnold Palmer only a few minutes ago, but a lot of these guys are going to be in the running in my lines this week, 100%. Where did Shane finish there? Probably a little bit further back. Tied 23rd at the Memorial. Really take rough at the Memorial. Play like a major. And I think it's sort of a good litmus test going into this week, what we're going to see from some of the guys. So really interesting. Shane Lowry this week, I think. Keegan Bradley, another guy who's contended pretty much at those 2 venues. I do like that. Big year for him. And he's the type of guy, Keegan, who's going to come in and just go, everyone's talking up the fear factor of this course. Keegan loves that shit. He loves going, fuck all used, you know what I mean? And going in and proving everyone wrong. That's the kind of season Keegan has had. He's had a really, really solid season. If he was to go out and win here, you think he's playing in the Ryder Cup? 100% he's playing in the Ryder Cup. They'll change captaincy or do something. Brandt Snedeker maybe step in as captain. Keegan's just one of those guys, if the game's on, the game's on, and he loves to get up for the big occasion. So you're looking at Keegan at 80-1 there. I think that's definitely worth an each way shout. Again, look at Russell Henley, won at the API this year. Another one of my money shots this week. I think he'd be probably mad not to have a little each way tickle on him. He won the API, as we know, and then had a good showing at the Memorial. This is sort of what I'm saying in terms of, he tied 5th at the Memorial. Pull that up there. Tied 5th at the Memorial. A guy who loves the challenge and the tough courses. Sepp Straka is also on our list this week. And Sepp is a guy who's had a remarkable season. So straight off the tee. Like an arrow. It's if he can get that on point again this week, off the tee, keeping it in, he's in with a real shot come Sunday, in my opinion. Putting, maybe a little bit of an issue, but he's won twice this year. The Amex. And he's also won the Truist Championship. Shane Lowry finished in second. There's a familiar pattern here, I think, going into this event. In my opinion, in my thinking, this is the way I'm looking at it. I think Ludwig Oberg as well is worth the shout. Lesser odds, 20-1. Again, playing well, coming off some good finishes, tied 16th at the Memorial a couple of weeks ago. Where did he finish in the API earlier in the season? Tied 22nd. There we go. And he's coming more into the season. We know he's performed in majors. He obviously, the Masters a couple of years ago, had a poor final round, but was right in with that. And right in with a chance at the Masters again this year. He's a guy who's geared up to major tournaments. So, what a talented golfer. Putting again would maybe be a little bit of an issue for me. Inside sort of 10 feet is where Ludwig tends to miss. But, I'm liking all that. Jordan Spieth, outside. I am going outsider here, but again, we saw a couple of weeks ago, Jordan looked right back, was playing some of his best golf I've seen him play in a long time. He's been training up. Right. The only issue again here is it's just the erratic nature of Jordan Spieth. One of the best entertainers on tour. But if he can get off to a good start, don't rule him out. I'm telling you, he needs to keep that driving straight though. But the rest of his game, as we've seen, has really come on leaps and bounds this season since he got that wrist surgery. So where did he finish at the Memorial? Jordan was a good bit back. I think he was 20th or maybe even a little bit further up the field. But, I'm loving what I'm seeing from Jordan at the moment. Tied 7th. There you go. I didn't even think it was tied 7th, but there you go. That's what I'm talking about. There's been progression, slow progression the whole time. A guy who does tend on the tougher tracks to outperform himself. Not outperformance, that's a silly word to use. He tends to play better on the tougher tracks. How was that so hard to say? I don't know. Sorry, apologise for that. Listen, Ryan Fox is another one, an interesting one where I'm sort of going, he's been playing so well lately. Why is no one talking about Ryan Fox? Won last weekend, playoff against Sam Burns, an unbelievable performance. 5-hole playoff. Really long hitter. Just playing really solid golf. His second win of the season on tour. Why not? Why not? Like, Ryan Fox is a guy who's also contended on these courses in the past. So if you want to have a ticket, I would, why is no one talking about Ryan Fox? I find it funny interesting. 38-year-old being all over the place, DP World Tour, real sort of journeyman at this stage, but 2 wins in the last month on the PGA Tour, and no one's really sort of giving him any sort of chance. I think that's even a top 10 bet with Ryan. Definitely worth a shout, in my opinion. Ryan Fox, but honestly, I'm really buzzing for what we're going to see this week because I think we're in for carnage, and I think the guys who can handle the carnage best are going to win. I like this one as well, right? This is a bit of a wild one. Might be worth a little tickle if you're into it. Top 10 finish, Guido Migliozzi 700-1. Guido's 28-year-old Italian. He won the French Open, I think it was 2022. Really tough conditions at La Golf Nationale, and he's one of these guys. He tends to play very well on tougher courses. Maybe not in the best form of the DP World Tour, but anytime he's been in the mix in the Open Championship before. I think top 10, top 20 bet might be worth a little tickle there. Rasmus Højgaard, another one, long hitter. The only issue with Rasmus here is keeping the ball straight off the tee, which is probably a major issue, which it is in a major. But, do I like Rasmus at 125-1? It's worth an outside punt. It definitely is. Okay, who else are we going to look at there? Rory McIlroy to miss the cut. 12-5. I think that could be bet of the week in my opinion. Just a 0. Haven't seen much from it at all since the Masters. Last week was horrendous, and if that driver isn't playing in the fairways, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. He's also admitted, as we said earlier on, 81 at the course last week. So really don't like Rory's chances this week. Totally, I don't think Rory can win this week. That's how far I'm going to say. And I know I said that at the Masters and he won, but I think this is a different kettle of fish. Rory needs to be confident going in, which he was earlier on this season. But he's certainly not now with the US Open coming up in tomorrow. It is Thursday here in Dublin, Ireland. Okay, right. So what are we going to be looking at as actually winning the tournament. Who are going to be my picks to win it? Who's going to be my one and done? And that is Xander Schauffele this week. I am going to go with Xander Schauffele. I think no one's talking about him. I think it does sort of suit his mentality when the pressure, the focus isn't on him. Like last year almost to a certain extent. He's had the 2 weeks off. I was looking, as I said, the similar trends to what we saw with Scottie Scheffler in terms of when he came back from his injury. This guy is too good not to be competing at major championships. We saw him finish 8th, obviously, at the Masters. Good performance then at the Masters of the PGA. I'm getting confused here. There's too much bloody stats going around. But hang on, I'm going to get that up. Xander, where the fuck is it? Xander Schauffele. 8th at the Masters, wasn't it? Hang on, sorry about this. Yeah, 8th at the Masters. He finished. So yeah, I just love what Xander's saying this week. I think it bodes well for him. And yeah, he's my one and done. He's my one and done. If I'm putting money on anyone this week in terms of value bet, in terms of what we think we might see without Scottie even, I'd probably have a punt on Xander. But there is some really good each way price. I think if you can get top lefty as well, go Akshay Bhatia. I couldn't find that earlier on my betting profile on who I use, but I've heard it is available out there, and I think you get a good price on that. And even maybe in each way, I think he's a huge price as well. But I have to go with Xander Schauffele this week. And you know, the second one I will go with here is Russell Henley at 90-1. I think you can very good cases for anyone else there in the list. Sepp Straka, Ludwig Ober. I'll probably have a little tickle on most of them there this week. And I as I said, you know, Shane Lowry, I think putting issue could be the real problem here for them. But I think at that price each way, not bad. You'll get a decent return on that. Sepp Straka again, putting might be the issue there. But in terms of sort of all-round player, you've got to look at Xander Schauffele, in my opinion. Outside of Scottie Scheffler, we're dismissing Scottie this week. But I think Schauffele is being underappreciated and under-talked this week heading into Oakmont. It's going to be absolutely fascinating. And guys, check out the channel. We've loads of stuff up there in terms of this week. What's going on with interviews, all that, loads of the press conferences there. So if you're getting value, do like, subscribe, all that malarkey. I'll probably do something live on Sunday. I know I said that the last time, but I'm pretty set that I'm going to do something this Sunday live. We'll do a watch along the final round, especially if we've someone in the mix on Saturday. Everything's coming up there across the bottom as well in terms of the tee times, prices, everything, as you see right there. So yeah, like, am I missing out on anything else here that I haven't mentioned? Some really good young amateurs in the field this week as well. I think that's fascinating to have a look at, see how they fare on this track, which is going to be absolutely. So what else? Am I missing anything else here? I'm just going to have a little quick check. Comments, likes. What's the winning score going to be this week? And that's a really interesting one. I'm going winning score. Scottie listen to Scottie's press conference yesterday, and looking at the weather, seeing what he was saying. I think it might be a little bit sort of between even and 2 under to 4 under. So I'm going to go my winning score. I'll go 2 under. I'll go -2. What do you guys think? Drop it in the comments down there. What's the winning score going to be on Sunday? I'm going to go 2 under. I mean, that's just because of what Scottie said. I think Scottie's sort of maybe playing up the difficulty psychologically. Scottie's a lot cleverer with the mind games than I think people let on. Also, some really, just going through some tweets here, some really interesting stats there. Ron Kloss, brilliant. Give that guy a follow on Twitter. Unbelievable. Look at some of these. Look at some of these holes here. Look at the amount of bunkers. 175 bunkers, and there's about 5 of them there. It's absolutely insane. It's unbelievable stuff here. So yeah, I'm really excited. As I said, I can't even say anymore. I'm too excited for this week. But we're gonna really have, I think, one of the best ever major championships this week. I'm absolutely convinced of that. Gets underway from Thursday. Sky Sports, obviously in the UK and Ireland, and I think it's on. I'm not sure where it's on the US. Presume NBC. In the United States, or CBS. I'm not even sure where it's on in the United States, but it's just going to be crazy. There's me again with the US Open. So yeah, let's really enjoy it this week. It's going to be a cracker. Do get subscribed, Everton, all that. I'm buzzing. I'm just absolutely buzzing. Can't really say anymore because I've been up late for the last 4 nights, putting up videos, working away, doing my thing. But yeah, Xander Schauffele for me this week. I'll give you another quick look at these before we get out of here. Schauffele, Lowry, Bradley, Henley, Aubert, Sepp Straka, Jordan Spieth, Ryan Fox, and the sort of the fun bets on the side as well. I think there might be a little bit of interest in them. You always get some fun ones at the US Open, so why not have a little look through them? But yeah, I as I said, I'm going to reread it myself again. API, Bay Hill, Memorial at Muirfield Village. I think we're going to see some similar guys knocking around the leaderboard here, and ultimately I think Xander Schauffele is going to get the job done this Sunday. And you'll hear Sunday night this will be used quite a lot if he's not in the mix on Sunday. But anyway, great weekend to look forward to. As I said, if you're getting value out of this, do like, subscribe, all that, share, because we've had loads of views. But a lot of people aren't subscribed, so do get subscribed, hit note. It does help the channel. I want to do other things with the channel, I was told you in the past, so get involved. Listen, have an absolute belter. Enjoy the golf this weekend. It's going to be the best major championship I think we're going to see in a long, long time. So from Niall McGrath, it is. Good luck. Good night.